My name is Serafina, and today, I am a masterpiece of deception. As I stand before the floor-to-ceiling gilded mirror in the bridal suite of the Grand Pierre Ballroom, the reflection staring back at me feels like a stranger. My skin is draped in hand-stitched Chantilly lace, a gown that cost more than the average person's annual salary, cinched at my waist until I can barely draw a full breath. But the tightness in my chest isn't from the corset. It's from the secret I've been carrying like a jagged stone in my throat for 6 months. Outside these heavy mahogany doors, 500 of the city's elite are sipping vintage champagne, waiting to witness the union of the year, Serafina Vance and Caspian Thorne. It's a merger of two empires, a strategic alliance disguised as a romance. My father, a man whose heart is made of cold ledger sheets, sees this as his crowning achievement. I see it as my execution. Because somewhere in the shadows of this city, Thatcher is waiting. Thatcher. Just thinking his name feels like a sin in this room full of white lilies. He wasn't supposed to be part of the plan. He was the wrong choice, a freelance architect with ink on his hands and fire in his soul. We met in a rain-drenched cafe 3 years ago, and for a while, I forgot I was a Vance. With him, I wasn't an heiress or a trophy. I was just a girl who liked the way the stars looked through a telescope. But our love was built on a foundation of lies and misunderstandings. The misunderstanding, the one that is currently rotting my heart, started the night of the Solstice Gala. I saw him. I saw Thatcher in the garden with Juliana, my cousin. From the balcony, it looked like a betrayal. I saw him hand her a velvet box, I saw her hug him with an intimacy that shattered my world. I didn't stay to hear the explanation. I didn't wait for him to tell me that Juliana was helping him pick out a ring for me. I reacted with the poison of my upbringing. I assumed the worst because I had been taught that nobody loves a Vance for anything but their name. In a fit of vengeful agony, I accepted Caspian's proposal the very next morning. I wanted to hurt Thatcher the way I thought he hurt me. I wanted to bury my feelings under the weight of Caspian's diamonds. Serafina? It's time. My mother's voice cuts through the silence. She enters the room, a vision of icy perfection in silver silk. She doesn't look at my face, she looks at my hair, adjusting a stray strand near my tiara. The photographers are ready. Caspian is already at the altar. Don't ruin your mascara, darling. It's a big day for the family. Is it, Mother? Or is it just a big day for the stock market? I ask, my voice sounding hollow, like wind through a cave. She pauses, her eyes meeting mine in the mirror for a fraction of a second. There is a flash of something, pity? Regret, before her mask slides back into place. Happiness is for children, Serafina. Security is for adults. Now, take your bouquet. As I walk down the long, red-carpeted hallway toward the ballroom, the scent of expensive perfume and blooming peonies is suffocating. My bridesmaids, dressed in shades of champagne, follow me like a funeral procession. My heart is hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Thatcher. 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 I heard rumors this morning. My maid of honor whispered that a man was seen pacing the perimeter of the hall, looking disheveled and desperate. I know it's him. I know he's here to stop this. He thinks he can save me. But he doesn't realize that the misunderstanding has grown into a monster. He still thinks I chose Caspian for the money. He thinks I'm the villain. And I still haven't forgiven him for what I thought I saw in that garden. The heavy double doors of the ballroom swing open. The orchestra begins the first notes of Wagner's bridal chorus. The crowd rises in a synchronized wave of silk and wool. At the end of the aisle stands Caspian Thorne, looking every bit the prince he was bred to be. But my eyes aren't on Caspian. I'm scanning the back of the room. I'm looking for the man who is about to ruin my life, or perhaps, give it back to me. I take the first step. The cameras flash. The trap is set. And little do they know, this wedding isn't going to end with a kiss. It's going to end with a war. The walk down the aisle feels like an eternity in a vacuum. Every flash of the camera is a lightning bolt, illuminating the faces of people who don't know me, yet are here to judge the quality of my surrender. Caspian stands at the altar, his smile polished and rehearsed, a predator in a bespoke tuxedo. He reaches out his hand, his fingers cold as he takes mine. But as I step onto the marble dais, the air in the Grand Pierre ballroom shifts. The heavy mahogany doors at the back of the hall don't just open, they are thrown back with a violence that echoes against the vaulted ceiling. The music falters. The orchestra's violins screech to a halt, one by one, like a dying heartbeat. I feel my father's hand tighten on my arm, a silent warning to stay composed, but my soul is already leaping toward the silhouette standing in the doorway. It's Thatcher. He looks like a storm cloud in a room full of sunlight. His hair is windblown, his coat is damp from the sudden evening rain, and his eyes, those deep, turbulent eyes, are locked onto mine with a ferocity that makes the 500 guests around us vanish. He doesn't look like a hero, he looks like a man who has been through hell and has finally found the person who sent him there. Serafina. His voice isn't a shout, it's a command, raw and trembling with an agony that silences the entire room. Security, my father hisses, but Caspian steps forward, a smirk playing on his lips. Caspian loves a spectacle, as long as he's the one controlling it. Let him speak, Arthur, Caspian says, his voice smooth and dripping with condescension. I want to hear what the help has to say on such a momentous occasion. Thatcher ignores him. He walks down the center of the aisle, the very path I just walked, his boots thudding against the white rose petals. Every step he takes is a crack in the carefully constructed facade of my life. He stops just a few feet from the altar, ignoring the gasps of the socialites and the frantic whispering of my mother. You're really going through with it? Thatcher asks, his voice cracking. After everything we built, you're selling your soul for a name that doesn't even care if you breathe? I feel the sting of tears, but I refuse to let them fall. The misunderstanding, the image of him and Juliana in the garden, flashes in my mind like a searing brand. You have no right to be here, Thatcher, I say, my voice trembling despite my best efforts. You made your choice that night at the solstice. I saw you. I saw what you gave her. Don't come here and play the martyr when you were the first one to walk away. Thatcher laughs, but it's a sound of pure, unadulterated pain. Is that what this is? You saw me with Juliana and you assumed I was throwing us away? Serafina, look at me. He reaches into his pocket, and for a second, the security guards tensed, thinking he had a weapon. He pulls out a small, crumpled piece of paper, a receipt. I wasn't giving her a ring for her, he says, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carries to the back of the hall. I was asking her if the diamond I bought for you was good enough for Avance. I was terrified I wasn't enough for your world. I was trying to bridge the gap between us, and you didn't even give me the chance to speak. You just disappeared into Caspian's bed and his bank account. The room spins. The misunderstanding wasn't a betrayal of his heart, it was a betrayal of my trust in him. I had jumped to a conclusion that led me to this altar, to this man I didn't love. It doesn't matter now, I whisper, looking at the high society vultures watching us. It's too late, Thatcher. The papers are signed. The guests are here. It's only too late if you love him, Thatcher says, stepping closer, his presence overwhelming the scent of the lilies. Do you love him, Sarah? Look me in the eye in front of God and all these miserable people and tell me you love Caspian Thorne. I look at Caspian. He isn't worried, he's annoyed. He looks at his watch as if this is a business meeting running 5 minutes late. Then I look at Thatcher, whose heart is bleeding on his sleeve for the whole world to see. The silence stretches, taut as a piano wire. My father moves toward Thatcher, his face purple with rage. Get this beggar out of here. Now. The security guards move in, grabbing Thatcher by the shoulders. He doesn't fight them. He just keeps his eyes on mine, a silent plea for me to be the woman he thought I was. As they begin to drag him toward the door, he shouts one last thing. I didn't come here to take you back, Serafina. I came here to see if there was anything left of the girl I loved. But I see now, the silk has finally turned to stone. The door slams shut behind him. The room is silent for a heartbeat before the orchestra, prompted by my mother's frantic signaling, begins to play again. Well, Caspian says, taking my hand again and smoothing the lace on my glove. Now that the entertainment is over, shall we finish this? I look at the closed doors. My heart is screaming, but my feet are frozen. I have a choice to make, and part 3 will decide if I stay in my cage or burn the whole ballroom down. The orchestra's attempt to drown out the echoes of Thatcher's departure is pathetic. The music sounds thin, like glass scraping against tile. Caspian's hand is still on mine, his grip firm, not out of affection, but out of possession. He leans in, his breath smelling of expensive bourbon and mint, whispering in my ear so the guests can't hear. Smile, Serafina. You're making a scene. Let's get through the vows, and I'll make sure that architect never finds work in this hemisphere again. Now, look at the priest. I look at the priest, a man who has performed hundreds of these ceremonies for the elite. He looks bored. He starts to recite the liturgy, the words about honor and obey sounding like the clinking of chains. My father is back in the front row, his chest puffed out, nodding as if Thatcher's appearance was just a minor glitch in his grand design. But Thatcher's last words are a fire in my blood. The silk has turned to stone. I look down at my hands. The ring Caspian placed on my finger during the rehearsal is a flawless 10-carat emerald cut. It's heavy. It's cold. It represents a life of curated appearances, of silent dinners in cavernous mansions, and of a slow, suffocating death of the spirit. Then I think of Thatcher, of his messy apartment filled with blueprints, the way he'd get charcoal on his nose when he was focused, and the way he looked at me as if I were the only light in a dark world. The misunderstanding had been my cage. My pride had been the lock. And Thatcher had just handed me the key. Do you, Serafina Vance, take Caspian Thorne to be your lawfully wedded husband? The priest's voice rises, signaling the moment of no return. The silence that follows is different from the one before. This isn't a shocked silence, it's a predatory one. The guests are leaning forward, their diamonds glittering under the chandeliers, waiting for the I do that secures the Vance Thorne empire. I look at Caspian. Truly look at him. I see the arrogance in his eyes, the way he views me as just another asset to be managed. He doesn't love me. He loves the prestige I bring. Serafina, my mother prompts from the front row, her voice tight with panic. No, I say. It's a whisper, but in the hush of the ballroom, it sounds like a gunshot. The priest blinks. I'm sorry, my child. Did you? I said no, I say, my voice growing stronger, vibrating with a power I didn't know I possessed. I pull my hand out of Caspian's grip. The movement is so sudden he actually stumbles back a step. Serafina, stop this nonsense. My father stands up, his face a mask of fury. You are embarrassing this family. Think about the merger. Think about the contracts. That's all I've been doing, father. I shout, turning toward him. The guests gasp, some of them even pulling out their phones to record the meltdown of the century. I've thought about the contracts, the houses, and the reputations. But not once in 24 years have you asked me to think about my heart. I turn back to Caspian, who was looking at me with pure venom. You knew, didn't you? You knew Thatcher was trying to reach me. You're the one who intercepted his letters. You're the one who told me he'd moved on with Juliana. Caspian's mask finally slips. He sneers, leaning closer. He's a nobody, Serafina. A romantic distraction. I offered you a kingdom. Don't be a fool. I'd rather be a fool in a rainstorm than a queen in a tomb, I snap. I reach up and tear the diamond tiara from my head. A few strands of my carefully styled hair come with it, but I don't care. I drop the tiara onto the marble floor. The sound of the metal hitting the stone is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. The wedding is over. I announce to the room, my voice echoing off the gold-leafed walls. Go home. Drink the champagne. Toast to the end of the Vance dynasty, because I am done being your currency. I grab the heavy skirts of my gown, the lace ripping as I turn sharply. I don't look at my mother's tears or my father's clenched fists. I walk down that aisle, the same one Thatcher just walked, but this time, my head is held high. I reach the mahogany doors. 2 security guards stand there, looking uncertain. Open them, I command. They hesitate, looking toward my father. I said, open the doors. They step aside and pull the heavy wood back. The cool night air rushes in, smelling of rain and freedom. I step out into the night, my white dress glowing under the street lights. But as I look down the long, sweeping driveway of the Pierre ballroom, my heart sinks. The driveway is empty. The rain is pouring down in sheets, blurring the world into a gray haze. Thatcher's old, beat-up truck is nowhere to be seen. I sent him away. I let him leave thinking I was stone. And now, as I stand on the marble steps in a ruined wedding dress, I realize that breaking free was only the first half of the battle. The second half is finding the man I almost destroyed. The cold rain is relentless. It doesn't just fall, it attacks. Within seconds, my $3,000 silk veil is a heavy, sodden rag clinging to my neck, and the layers of my skirt have absorbed so much water they feel like lead weights dragging me toward the pavement. I look like a drowned ghost haunting the entrance of my own funeral. Behind me, the ballroom is in chaos. I can hear my father's muffled roars and the frantic chatter of 500 people who just witnessed a social execution. But I don't look back. I can't. If I look back, the gravity of the Vance Empire might pull me back into its orbit. Thatcher. I scream into the dark, but the thunder swallows my voice. I begin to run. I don't have a car, a phone, or even shoes that are meant for movement. My silk heels snap within 10 yards, and I kick them off, my bare feet hitting the jagged gravel of the driveway. The pain is sharp, a grounding reminder that I am finally feeling something real. I reach the main gates of the estate. The city lights of New York shimmer in the distance, blurry and indifferent. Every car that passes splashes muddy water onto my white dress, turning the symbol of my purity into a mosaic of filth. I must look insane, a runaway bride limping through a storm, but for the first time in my life, I don't care about the image. I walk for blocks, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I know where he would go. Thatcher doesn't go to bars or clubs when he's hurting. He goes to the one place where he feels he has control, the half-finished skeletal frame of the Ellington building, the first major project he ever designed. By the time I reach the construction site, I am shivering violently. My skin is blue, and my lungs burn. The site is deserted, the cranes standing like prehistoric beasts against the midnight sky. I see it, his rusted black pickup truck, parked near the entrance of the service elevator. Thatcher. I cry out, my voice breaking. I find him on the 12th floor, sitting on the edge of a concrete slab, his legs dangling over the edge of the city. There are no walls here yet, just the wind whistling through the steel beams. He's staring at the skyline, a bottle of cheap whiskey in his hand. He doesn't turn around when he hears my footsteps. Go home, Serafina, he says, his voice flat and dead. The gala is waiting. Your king is waiting. I left him, I say, stepping onto the floor, the wind whipping my ruined dress around my legs. I left it all, Thatcher. On the floor. The tiara, the ring, the name, it's all gone. He finally turns, and the look in his eyes is worse than anger. It's exhaustion. He looks at my bare, bleeding feet and my shivering frame, but he doesn't move to help me. Why? To prove a point? To make me feel guilty for showing up? You won, Sarah. You got your dramatic moment. Now go back before your father disowns you. He already did. I shout, stepping closer, ignoring the vertigo of the open ledge. He called me a failed investment. He didn't see a daughter, he saw a broken contract. And you called me stone. You think I'm just like them. Thatcher stands up, the whiskey bottle shattering as he drops it. He walks toward me until we are inches apart, his heat radiating through the cold rain. What was I supposed to think? You vanished for months. You ignored my calls, my letters. You let the world tell me you were happy. I thought you betrayed me. I screamed back, my chest heaving. I saw you with Juliana. I saw the box. I was hurt and I was stupid and I wanted to hurt you back. But today, when you stood there, I realized I'd rather starve with you than feast with him. Thatcher searches my face, his jaw tight. For a long moment, the only sound is the rain lashing against the steel. The misunderstanding is still there, a thick wall between us, but the cracks are widening. You ruined everything for this, he whispers, gesturing to the rain and his empty pockets. I have nothing to give you, Serafina. No diamonds, no security. Just a blueprint and a dream. I don't want a kingdom, Thatcher, I say, reaching out with a trembling hand to touch his rain-soaked cheek. I just want to be the girl who looks at the stars with you. Please, don't let me be stone. The tension snaps. Thatcher grabs me, his arms wrapping around me with a desperate, crushing force. He buries his face in my neck, and I feel him shaking. Whether it's from the cold or the tears, I don't know. But as we stand there, suspended between the clouds and the city, a harsh light suddenly cuts through the darkness. Down below, 3 black SUVs screech to a halt. My father's security team. They found us, Thatcher says, pulling back, his eyes narrowing. They didn't find us, I say, looking down at the men emerging from the cars with umbrellas and cold expressions. They came to collect their property. But I'm not an asset anymore. The real battle isn't over. My father doesn't accept no. And as we look down at the men coming to take me back, I realize that part 5 won't just be about love, it will be about survival. The hum of the service elevator rising through the skeleton of the building sounds like a funeral bell. Down below, the red and blue lights of private security vehicles pulse against the wet asphalt. My father hasn't just sent guards, he sent a small army to retrieve his investment. Thatcher pulls me back from the ledge, his hand gripping mine. His eyes aren't filled with fear anymore, they are filled with the protective rage of a man who has finally found what he lost. Stay behind me, Sarah, he whispers. The elevator gates creak open. My father, Arthur Vance, steps onto the concrete floor. He looks absurd in his tuxedo, standing amidst the raw steel and gravel. Behind him are 4 men in dark suits, muscle hired to ensure the Vance name isn't dragged through the mud of a construction site. Enough of this melodrama, Serafina, my father says, his voice projecting with the cold authority of a boardroom. You've had your little rebellion. You've ruined the gown and humiliated Caspian. Now, walk to the elevator. We have a crisis management team waiting at the house to spin this as a nervous breakdown. I step out from behind Thatcher, my feet numb, my white dress now a battle-scarred gray. It wasn't a breakdown, father. It was a wake-up call. I'm not going back. You have nothing, my father sneers, stepping over a pile of rebar. You don't have a cent to your name. Your credit cards are cancelled. Your apartment is being cleared as we speak. You think this builder can give you the life you were born for? Thatcher steps forward, his voice low and steady. She wasn't born for a life, Mr. Vance. She was born for herself. And as for having nothing, she has more than you've ever had. She has the truth. My father looks at Thatcher as if he's a stray dog. Get him out of my sight, he commands his men. As the guards move forward, I don't scream. I don't hide. I walk to the very edge of the concrete floor, not to jump, but to show them how little their world matters to me. I reach into the hidden pocket of my dress, a small detail I'd insisted the seamstress add, and pull out a small, silver USB drive. My father freezes. What is that? He asks, his voice losing its edge. I'm a Vance, father. I grew up in your shadow, I say, a cold smile touching my lips. I knew that if I ever tried to leave, you'd try to crush me. Or Thatcher. So, a month ago, I started looking through the files in your home office. The offshore accounts connected to the Thorn merger? The donations to the zoning board? It's all here. The silence that follows is deafening. The wind howls through the steel, but the men in suits stop in their tracks. This was the misunderstanding my father never saw coming. He thought I was a puppet, but I was a student. You wouldn't, he whispers. It would destroy you, too. You'd be the daughter of a felon. I'd rather be the daughter of a felon than the wife of a thorn, I reply. Tell your men to go back to their cars. Tell them the wedding is cancelled, permanently. And Thatcher? He's going to build this city, and you're going to stay out of his way. My father stares at me. In that moment, he finally sees me, not as a daughter or a pawn, but as an opponent. He signals his men to retreat. He knows when a deal has gone sour. Without another word, he turns and walks back into the elevator. The light fades as the doors close, leaving us in the shadows. Thatcher stands there, breathless, looking at the USB drive in my hand. Is that really all on there? I look at him and toss the drive over the edge of the building. We watch it disappear into the dark, wet streets below. No, I admit, leaning into him. It was an empty drive with some old photos of us. But he didn't know that. He taught me that power is just an illusion of confidence. Thatcher laughs, a real, booming laugh that echoes through the steel beams. He picks me up, spinning me around in the rain. My dress is ruined, my feet are bleeding, and we are officially penniless. But as the first gray light of dawn begins to break over the New York skyline, the misunderstanding that nearly cost us everything is gone. We aren't stone. We aren't silk. We are the architects of our own lives. Where to now? Thatcher asks, setting me down and wrapping his damp coat around my shoulders. I look at the rising sun, the gold light reflecting off the glass of the buildings around us. Somewhere with coffee, I say. And a telescope. I want to see the stars again. The cinematic camera zooms out, capturing the two of us, a girl in a tattered white dress and a man in a work coat, walking through the skeletal frame of an unfinished building, heading toward a city that finally belongs to them. The end.